The soft hum of cicadas fills the evening air as I sit on our wraparound porch, sipping a cold glass of sweet tea. The sky bleeds orange and pink, casting long shadows over the manicured lawns of Maple Ridge. It's the kind of neighborhood that looks like it belongs in a real estate ad. White picket fences, rose bushes trimmed with military precision, and families who wave but never really say hello. My wife, Lila, sits beside me, her wheelchair nestled against the wooden railing. The sunset paints her face in warm hues, but her expression is distant. Tired. I know she's still adjusting to life here. We moved in 6 months ago, drawn by the accessibility-friendly home design and the promise of quiet. But quiet doesn't always mean peaceful. You ever notice how no one really talks to us? She murmurs, running a hand along the armrest of her chair. I glance toward the cul-de-sac, where a group of women stand in a tight circle, their pastel cardigans and pearl necklaces practically uniform. They whisper, their eyes flickering toward us before quickly looking away. Yeah, I say, my jaw tightening. They don't have to say it. We weren't invited to the club. The club, of course, being the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association, the self-appointed governing body of the neighborhood, run by the kind of people who still clutch their purses tighter when we walk by. The kind of people who believe in preserving the neighborhood's character. The kind of people who don't take kindly to a black couple moving into their pristine, all-white paradise, especially when we refuse to pay into their HOA. You think they'll leave us alone? Lila asks, hopeful. I wish I could tell her yes. The first sign of trouble. It starts small. A warning letter tucked under our doormat. Dear homeowner, Maple Ridge is a deed-restricted community and all residents are expected to maintain a certain standard. Your failure to comply with HOA guidelines will result in further action. We don't even belong to the HOA. Our property isn't under its jurisdiction. But that doesn't seem to matter to them. Then the little acts of sabotage begin. The garbage truck mysteriously stops picking up our trash. The postal carrier claims he couldn't access our mailbox. One morning, we wake up to find our front lawn doused in weed killer. Our lush, green grass now a patchy wasteland. It's deliberate, calculated, and it all points to one person, Martha Caldwell. Meet the Queen of Maple Ridge. Martha is the HOA president, a woman who wears her authority like a crown. Her blonde bob is always perfectly styled, her blouses neatly pressed, her smile sharp enough to cut. She's the kind of woman who thinks laws are merely suggestions for other people. And right now, she's watching us from across the street, standing beside her pristine white BMW, her lips pursed in barely concealed disgust. She doesn't wave. She doesn't smile. She just stares. A warning. A promise. Something tells me this is only the beginning. Morning comes with a knock. Sharp. Measured. The kind of knock that demands to be answered. I set my coffee down, glance at Lila, who's already tensing in her chair, and head for the door. Standing on our porch, arms crossed over her crisp white blazer, is Martha Caldwell. Good morning, she says, her voice syrupy sweet but carrying the weight of something sour underneath. Behind her, 2 men in matching polo shirts, her HOA enforcers, linger at the edge of our yard, clipboards in hand. They aren't government officials. They aren't law enforcement. But they carry themselves like they own this street. I fold my arms. Can I help you? Martha's smile tightens. We've received several complaints regarding your property's appearance. Your lawn is, well, let's just say it's not up to community standards. I glance at the grass, still recovering from whatever poison they poured on it. Community standards? You mean the one your people destroyed? Her expression doesn't change. Now. There's no need to be hostile. I'm here as a courtesy. The HOA has strict guidelines, and we expect all residents to comply. I exhale through my nose. We're not part of your HOA, Martha. She tilts her head, feigning innocence. Oh, but you are part of this community, and that means abiding by its values. I don't miss the way her gaze flickers toward Lila's wheelchair inside the house. The way her lips purse ever so slightly. The way she stands just a little taller, as if asserting her place above us. This isn't about a lawn. This is about control. And we both know it. Strange happenings. That night, the floodlights we installed, brand new, mysteriously stop working. A day later, a notice arrives in the mail claiming we owe $3,000 in unpaid HOA dues. Dues we never agreed to. Then the power outage. At first, I think it's the whole street, some random blackout. But when I step outside, I see our neighbors' homes glowing with warm, yellow light. Only our house is dark. Coincidence? No chance. Lila grips my hand, her fingers cold. This isn't just harassment, is it? I shake my head. No. This is a message. A warning in the dark. The next night, I wake up to the sound of gravel crunching outside. I push back the curtain. A shadow moves along the sidewalk. A flashlight flickers. A figure, tall, broad-shouldered, lingers near our porch. A second later, our mailbox rips off its post and crashes onto the pavement. My blood runs hot. I storm outside, but by the time I reach the driveway, the SUV peels away. But I don't need to see the driver to know. Martha's people. They want us gone. And they're done playing games. I'm done letting this slide. The next morning, I march straight to Martha Caldwell's house. It's a pristine, two-story colonial with a garden so perfect it looks like a magazine spread. Her BMW sits in the driveway, gleaming under the sun. I don't knock, I pound. A few seconds later, the door swings open. Martha stands there, dressed in one of her signature white blazers, a steaming mug of coffee in hand. She doesn't look surprised to see me. In fact, she looks amused. "Mr. Carter," she says, taking a slow sip. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" I step forward, jaw tight. "Cut the act, Martha. I know it was your people who tore down my mailbox. Just like I know it was your people who killed my lawn, shut off my power, and sent me that fake HOA bill." Her expression doesn't flicker. If anything, the amusement in her eyes grows. "Those are serious accusations," she says lightly. "And yet, I don't see any proof." I grit my teeth. "I don't need proof to know what this is. You don't want us here. You never did." She takes another sip of coffee, completely unbothered. "Maple Ridge has standards, Mr. Carter. If you don't want to follow them, perhaps you should reconsider whether this neighborhood is the right fit for you and your wife." My hands clench into fists. "You can't force us to leave." She smiles. "I don't have to. The community will make that decision for me." The door clicks shut in my face. Doubling down. The harassment escalates. Lila's custom-built wheelchair ramp? Someone rips it apart in the middle of the night. The security cameras I install? Smashed before they can even record. Even our mail disappears, bills, packages, everything. I go to the police, but they shrug. No cameras, no witnesses, no crime. I try to file a formal complaint with the county, but the moment I mention Maple Ridge, the clerk gives me a tight smile and says, "That neighborhood takes care of its own problems." Martha's reach extends further than I thought, but I refuse to back down. Gathering evidence. If the police won't help, I'll build my own case. I spend the next week installing hidden trail cameras around our property, tiny, camouflaged, motion-activated, the kind used for wildlife tracking. I talk to the only neighbor who hasn't treated us like we're invisible, Mr. Rodriguez, an older Latino man who's lived here for years. "You're not the first," he tells me grimly. Martha doesn't like people who don't fit her image of perfect homeowners. She ran out a young Asian family 2 years ago, then a single black mother before that. I try to fight back, but she's got connections. I lean forward. "Would you be willing to testify if we take this public?" He hesitates. Then slowly he nods. "Yeah." I'm tired of staying quiet, catching them in the act. A few nights later, the trap is set. At 2:47 a.m., my phone vibrates with an alert from the motion sensor cameras. Movement detected. I grab my phone and pull up the live feed. There, 2 figures in dark clothing, creeping onto our property. One of them heads straight for the remaining wheelchair ramp, bolt cutters in hand. The other? Spraying something onto our garage door. I don't hesitate. I grab my keys, fly out the door, and flick on my high-beam flashlight. The figures freeze. Then the one with the spray can bolts, but the other, caught mid-act, turns to face me. And my stomach drops. It's one of Martha's enforcers. Derek Lawson, a retired cop who volunteers for the HOA, the same man who stood behind Martha with a clipboard that first day. Not so tough now, are you? I say, stepping forward. Derek glares. Then, without a word, he turns and runs. But it's too late, because I have everything on video. Morning comes with a storm brewing, not in the sky, but in Maple Ridge. I step onto my porch, phone in hand, eyes locked on Martha Caldwell's house. She doesn't know it yet, but today is the day everything changes. I've got the footage. Clear as day. Her enforcer, Derek Lawson, cutting my wife's wheelchair ramp, defacing our garage door. Criminal acts. Hate crimes. And I'm not just keeping it to myself. I sent copies to the police chief, the county commissioner, and half the local news outlets. Now I just need to watch the fallout. Martha's power play. I don't have to wait long. By noon, Martha is on my porch. This time, she doesn't bother with fake pleasantries. Take it down, she says, her voice low and cold. I lean against the doorframe. Take what down? She steps closer. The video. The accusations. All of it. This is defamation, and I can sue you for it. I laugh. Defamation? You mean the clear-cut evidence of your little HOA thug committing multiple crimes? Yeah. Good luck with that in court. Her jaw tightens. You don't know who you're messing with. I have friends in high places. Judges. City officials. I can make your life a nightmare. I cross my arms. Lady, you already did. But here's the thing. You're out of time. Her phone buzzes. She ignores it. Then it buzzes again. And again. I watch as she finally checks it. Her face drains of color. She knows. She's been exposed. The neighborhood gathers. Word spreads fast. Within the hour, a crowd gathers in front of my house. Neighbors. Residents. Even the ones who ignored us before. Mr. Rodriguez stands by my side. So do a few others, the ones Martha bullied over the years, too afraid to speak. One woman, a mother with 2 young kids, steps forward, voice shaking. You tried to push us out too, she says to Martha. You fined us over nothing. Sent us fake violation notices. We paid because we were scared. Another man speaks up. You told me I couldn't park my truck in my own driveway. That wasn't about rules, it was about who you wanted in this neighborhood. One by one, voices rise. People are finally seeing her for what she is. Martha's mask cracks. She raises her hands, faking composure. These are baseless accusations. I've done nothing wrong. I smirk. You sure about that? I hold up my phone and press play. The footage plays loud enough for everyone to hear. Derek Lawson, her right-hand man, caught in the act. Cutting the ramp. Spray painting our garage with the word frauds. Martha's mouth opens and closes. This is doctored. A new voice cuts through. A police officer. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. For the first time since I've known her, Martha Caldwell looks afraid. The officer who just spoke steps forward, badge gleaming in the afternoon sun. His partner flanks him, eyes scanning the crowd. People are whispering, murmuring, is she really getting arrested? Martha straightens her blazer, trying to regain control. Excuse me, she says, voice laced with indignation. This is a mistake. I'm the president of this HOA. You should be arresting him. He's the one spreading false information, slandering my name. The officer doesn't blink. Ma'am, we received a report of vandalism, harassment, and destruction of property, all backed by video evidence. Your associate, Derek Lawson, is already in custody. He had quite a lot to say about your involvement. The color drains from her face. What? She breathes. I step forward, arms crossed. Oh, yeah, Martha. Turns out loyalty only goes so far when the cops show up. I tilt my head. Derek told them everything. Her jaw tightens. That's a lie. The second officer pulls out his phone and presses play. A recording of Derek Lawson's confession crackles to life. Martha gave the orders. She told us to make them uncomfortable until they left. She approved the fake violation notices. She even suggested cutting the power, said it would send a message. The crowd gasps. Martha stumbles back, her polished composure cracking. She whirls on me, fury flashing in her eyes. You think this will stand in court? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'll get the best lawyers. But the officer cuts her off. Ma'am, you can explain all that downtown. Turn around. Martha freezes. Then, in a move so fast it almost looks desperate, she lunges toward my phone, reaching for it like she can somehow erase all the evidence. I step back. Her hand swipes at nothing but air. The officer grabs her wrist and spins her around in one smooth motion. The cold snap of handcuffs clicking shut echoes through the cul-de-sac. Martha screams, "You can't do this. I'm on the HOA board. I have rights. Her voice drowns in the murmurs of the crowd. The same people who once feared her are now watching with wide, stunned eyes. Then, a single voice cuts through the noise. Lila. Lila's bombshell. She wheels herself forward, calm, measured, powerful. She stops right in front of Martha, tilts her head slightly, and smiles. You really should have done your homework, Lila says softly. Martha glares, shaking with rage. Oh, please. What could you possibly? Lila pulls something from her lap.
A badge.
Not just any badge. The official state seal of the governor's office. The crowd gasps again. Martha stiffens. You didn't just harass a disabled woman. Lila continues, voice like steel wrapped in silk. You didn't just commit fraud. You targeted the wife of a sitting governor's senior legal advisor. Martha's eyes go wide. She stammers. That's not possible. Lila cocks her head. Oh, it is. And right now, my office is reviewing every HOA violation you've ever issued in this neighborhood. Every fabricated fine. Every illegal action. By the time I'm done, Maple Ridge won't just strip you of your title, they'll sue you into oblivion. Martha looks like she might pass out. The officer smirks. Guess that explains why the county commissioner was eager to take this case. Martha stops struggling. Her world is crumbling. The collapse of a queen. As the police guide her toward their cruiser, a reporter pushes through the crowd. A microphone appears. A camera follows. Mrs. Caldwell, is it true that you orchestrated a harassment campaign against Black and Latino homeowners in Maple Ridge? Martha whirls, panicked. And no, this is a misunderstanding. I only enforce the rules. The crowd turns on her. You harassed me for painting my door the wrong shade of blue, someone yells. You charged me $500 for parking in my own driveway, another shouts. Martha looks around wildly. Her neighbors, her former supporters, are done with her. One final, humiliating moment seals her fate. A woman, a HOA board member, steps forward. Her name is Carol Jacobs, one of Martha's closest allies. Or at least she was. I'm calling for an emergency vote, Carol announces, her voice carrying over the crowd. Effective immediately, Martha Caldwell is removed as HOA president. The crowd erupts. Martha screams, You can't do this. But it's too late. The final blow. As Martha is shoved into the back of the police car, I step closer, leaning down so only she can hear. You thought you could break us, I say, voice calm. But you never realized who you were messing with. The door slams shut. Martha Caldwell, the woman who ruled this neighborhood like a queen, is officially dethroned. 2 weeks later, Maple Ridge is unrecognizable. The perfectly trimmed lawns, the pristine sidewalks, they all look the same.
But the air has changed.
Lighter.
Freer.
Because Martha Caldwell is gone. The fall of a tyrant. The footage of Derek Lawson, her enforcer, spread like wildfire. The confessions sealed her fate. Once the governor's office got involved, it wasn't just about our case anymore. Investigators uncovered years of fraud. Fake fines. Embezzled HOA funds. Racially biased enforcement of rules. Martha wasn't just a bully, she was a criminal. The HOA dissolved overnight. The county seized her assets. Lawsuits piled up. And Martha herself? Facing federal charges. The last I saw of her was on the news. Hair disheveled, hands cuffed, being led out of a courthouse. She looked small, powerless, just like she wanted us to feel. A neighborhood awakens. Without Martha's rule, Maple Ridge woke up. People who had whispered about injustice now spoke up. Carol Jacobs, the board member who had turned against Martha at the last second, came to our house the day after the arrest. She looked ashamed. I should have said something sooner, she admitted. I knew what she was doing was wrong, but I was afraid. We all were. Lila, ever graceful, just nodded. Now you know better. Carol swallowed hard. What can we do to make this right? And that's how it started. Rebuilding together. The neighbors, the ones who once avoided eye contact, ignored our struggles, stood silent, started stepping forward. They rebuilt Lila's ramp. They funded repairs for the families Martha had cheated. Mr. Rodriguez and I worked to create a real neighborhood association, not an HOA built on fear, but a community-led initiative that actually helped people. And for the first time since moving here, I didn't feel like an outsider. A moment of triumph. One evening, Lila and I sat on our porch, watching the sun set over our quiet, changed neighborhood. She turned to me, eyes warm. You fought for us. I shook my head. We fought. She smiled. And we won. I looked at our home, the place Martha tried to take from us. The place we claimed, defended, and kept. And I realized something. This wasn't just a house. This was our home. And no one would ever take it from us again.